The first section of this learning module introduced the power of books to help children deal with difficult situations. We learned that books can inform children about difficult situations, provide comfort, and model solutions for coping. This second section will delve more deeply into what to look for in selecting helpful books to use with children, and ways to share books with children to help create a supportive environment. Real life calls for real books. As this quote implies, when children are feeling stressed, a good book can go a long way in helping children cope with that difficult situation. But it is important to remember that not all books are designed to help children deal with difficult topics. In fact, there is a lot of great children's literature that is not designed to help children with stressful situations. There are informational books like Growing Vegetable Soup, where children can learn all sorts of new information and facts in an engaging way, and predictive books like Brown Bear, What Do You See?, that encourage children to predict what comes next, and just plain fun and imaginative books like Jamberry, with playful rhymes, colorful illustrations, and fun action. However, when it comes to selecting books that can help with children's social and emotional lives, there are a number of very good books to choose from. What things should we look for? First, the book should be at a child's developmental level. If it's too advanced, young children may not understand it, and if it's too simple, older children may not relate to it. It also needs to have language and a theme that will be familiar to many children, or that many children have or will face. For example, in the book Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day, Alexander has one of those days when nothing went right. He went to sleep with gum in his mouth and woke up with gum in his hair. When he got out of bed, he tripped over his skateboard and by mistake dropped his sweater in the sink while the water was running. He was in a bad mood. Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day is a book that all children who have had a bad day can relate to, and most of us have had days like that. Next, it's important that books portray the situation honestly. Alexander in the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day describes a typical bad day that everyone has had. The book shouldn't downplay or minimize the situation, but it also shouldn't sensationalize it. Stories should also show characters experiencing emotions that children can relate to. Alexander is grumpy and mad, and every child has felt grumpy or mad like that at one time or another. Another thing to look for when choosing books for children experiencing stress is that books should show a problem, but also show a solution children can understand. It is important for children to see that there can be a positive outcome to a problem. On a day when everything goes wrong for him, Alexander is comforted by the realization that other people have had bad days too. Finally, books should offer situations that generate empathy. Children need to care about the story and the characters. They need to care about Alexander or Chester the raccoon or the father and son in Night Catch. Once you've selected a book, there are some time-tested strategies for sharing it with children. Let's talk about some tips for sharing books that deal with more sensitive topics. Many of the tips are the same techniques you would use while sharing any book, but with greater emphasis on certain aspects. First, it's a good idea to talk with children about the book before just springing it on them. If it's a difficult situation, we don't want to surprise them. Try to help ease children into the story. If you find that they're not ready to discuss the issue, it's okay to try another time. Start by showing children the cover of the book and asking what it might be about. For example, the cover of Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day shows a grumpy-looking Alexander in his bed. Ask children questions like, "How does Alexander look?" "Why do you think he might be angry?" As you read the book, children may ask why Alexander is angry or why the dad in Night Catch had to travel halfway around the world. Answer questions honestly. These questions help children work through issues. You can ask questions too. How does Chester the raccoon feel? Why? Have you ever felt the same way? Get children talking about the story. Try to help children problem solve in a safe way as you read the book. Focus on the solutions and feelings. How did characters solve the problem? What other ways could the father and son in Night Catch stay connected? Make sure to take time to discuss the story after the reading. Ask children what they thought about the story. With Alexander in the terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day, you could ask what happened to Alexander. How did Alexander get over his bad day? Have you ever felt the same way? Make sure to reread the story if children are interested. Sometimes hearing the story several times makes it more familiar and comforting to children. After finishing the book, follow up and extend the learning with other activities to allow children to express feelings in additional ways. For example, there are many ways you could follow up on the kissing hand. To follow up with a creative art activity, an adult can trace his or her own hand and a child's hand onto paper plates. The child can then finish decorating the picture. This activity can help remind children that an adult or parent's kiss is always with them. Follow-up activities that encourage children to talk about feelings and situations can be a big help. Puppets are often a good way to encourage children to talk. Here we have a sack puppet of Chester the raccoon. Children can use puppets to retell the story or make up their own stories. Follow-up activities that get children to label and express emotions can be very helpful. For example, you can make cards that have the emotions Chester feels in the story and give them to the children. Reread the book and have them raise the card when Chester might be feeling that emotion. Another good follow-up activity is to make homemade books. You can have children write or draw pictures of what makes them happy, sad, angry, and so forth. These pictures can then be stapled together to make a book. These books express their feelings and give them something of their own that they can go back and look at another time. When thinking about sharing books with children, as we mentioned earlier, not every book has to be on a serious topic. Integrate supportive books with other types of books, like informational, whimsical, or predictive books. Balance the types of children's literature you offer. Also, be sure to integrate books into your everyday routine. Share books in a large group, small groups, or one-to-one. And of course, let children explore books on their own. If a certain book strikes a chord with children, they will often go back to it on their own. If you know that a particular family is experiencing a specific issue and you feel comfortable with them, suggest books they might read at home. For example, if a parent is being deployed, you can suggest Night Catch or The Kissing Hand to read with their children at home. It is important to keep in mind that books are just one part of the supportive environment. One of the best things we can do is to allow children to talk about their feelings and things that might be bothering them. Children need to know that we all can experience strong feelings and that it's okay to talk about those feelings. Be sure to provide safe avenues for children to express emotions through activities such as art, dramatic play, writing, or free play. In addition to reading books, You can be supportive by expressing confidence that children will get through their situations, and you are always there to help and to listen. Be sure not to downplay the situation or their feelings. Also, you will want to be a good role model for positive coping. Children learn how to handle difficult situations from the important adults in their lives. Make sure you're modeling the type of skills you want children to use. Although children's literature can provide comfort and support in stressful times, it's important to keep in mind that children respond differently to books. Some respond well and make the connections right away. Others need more time. Certain books work better with particular children. Some children's reactions may be different from what you expect. It's all okay. Finally, be patient. Don't force children to deal with a stressful issue if they're not ready. Provide opportunities, but let them go at their own pace. It often takes repeated exposures before the message hits home. For more ideas to support children experiencing stress, check out Strategies for Supporting Military Families and Children in Childcare Settings, a module in this series. Let's summarize what we've talked about in this section. We have seen that children's literature can be a positive, healthy way to help children cope with difficult situations. As we said earlier, children's literature can provide a safe way for children to explore difficult issues. Give comfort to children experiencing stressful situations and help children cope by providing ideas, suggestions, and models. The next section of this module will talk about a database that we've created that has a variety of books to choose from on a number of topics that are particularly relevant for military children.